what's causing the fear, and then how do you cope or train people to help them really get past that and move forward with speaking and sharing that message without the issues?
What's helped me the most is reminding myself that it's not actually about me, it's about the audience. And every time I make it about me, I feel really nervous. Every time I make it about the audience, I'm just here to serve and support and spread a message that's going to help people. And shifting it from me to them typically helps calm me down. I still get nervous today. I have a speech in March. It's for 5,000 people in California. I am sure that when I stand on the stage, I am going to get nervous. It's gonna naturally happen because I care about the result. But I'll know in the back of my head that I practiced the material dozens upon dozens of times, and that I'm here to serve and it's not about me, and that'll push me through.
Welcome to the podcast. Nathan Newberry here, your host. Super pumped for you guys to listen. I got Demma here jumping in here, and we're going to hear his story. You guys are going to learn some insights about his techniques around how to speak, how to do speaking and growing your speaking career. He's been on many stages. He now coaches it. You guys are going to hear really cool stuff from him about that. Before that, I want to give you guys a free gift. Most of the time, people are wanting to grow their audience and they miss the big boat. They want to generate, more leads and revenue and be able to go on full time, building a coaching company online and building influence and helping people. And so I have a full training down below in the show notes you should check out. That's going to really help you be able to take it to the next level. So my free gift to you, go check that out. Sam, jumping right into the podcast here, just a question I ask everybody is, what is high performance? What does that look like? How does it feel? How do you put that on each day? How do you wear it? How do you define it? Help us give us some insights there.
High performance to me, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. High performance to me is defined by a daily set of disciplines or habits. I think about the athletes growing up that I looked up to the most, and what they did every single day to reach a level of high performance was discipline themselves to do the fundamentals over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So I personally believe that high performance is having the discipline to do the fundamentals consistently, day in and day out, even when you don't feel like it, in one specific area of expertise. If you're a soccer player, maybe it's kicking the ball 10,000 times. If you're a speaker, it's standing in the basement and practicing your speech day in and day out. If you are an online coach, it's watching Nathan's free training that he just offered in the show notes and practicing your webinars every single day. It's just doing the thing that everyone in your space is sometimes not willing to do. But often the success we want is hidden in the work we're avoiding. And I think that's really what high performance is, just committing to the fundamentals.
I love that. Now you're a speaking coach, but you professionally go speak all over the place. Would tell us a little bit more about like how you serve people and how you help people more.
The work we do has a simple aim. It's to build better humans, essentially make people feel better about themselves and help people make better decisions. It didn't start by me sitting down with a journal and setting a goal for myself to inspire people or to even be a professional speaker. It started because we needed volunteers when I was a high school student to help us pick up trash on Saturday mornings. And I thought if I spoke in front of my high school, we could get more kids to show up. And we did. I did a 3-minute speech in my senior year of high school to our entire high school population. Over 60 students gave us their email addresses. And I said, wow, if we do this, Nathan, for every single school in our district, we're going to have over 1,000 students on our email list coming to pick up trash with us on weekends. And we grew that list. And after doing about 30 voluntary promotional talks, a principal pulled me aside and said, dude, we hire people to deliver programs all the time. And our students fall asleep. They go on their phones. They talk to their neighbors. This was one of the first times I saw students sitting. You could hear a pin drop while you were speaking. They were locked in. They were engaged. Even the teachers enjoyed it. Can you please come back and do a 30-minute thing? And I share this story just because I didn't sit down and decide this is the work I wanted to do. I feel like it kind of chose me in some way. And after experimenting with it, fell in love with the ability to share stories that move people emotionally. But essentially, we serve folks in two ways. One is by delivering unforgettable keynote speeches at their events, their conferences, their school or association. And the second is by helping keynote speakers who want to book more engagements at higher fees, teaching them the sales, marketing systems, and some tips on the onstage performance to take their business to new heights.
Yeah. You and I are always wired different, like go-getters, high achievers. Did you discover that at that moment when the principal said that, or do you feel like you had a clue of that from other instances way back when?
My dad taught me growing up if I wanted to get better at soccer, the only way was to grab a ball and kick it against the wall after school. And it just taught me that if you wanted something in life, there's going to be a lot of hard work that's a requirement to bring that dream to reality. And I think I took that mentality into my professional pursuits after my soccer career took a turn. Senior year of high school, 3 major knee injuries, lost the full ride Division I scholarship. I had this little chip on my shoulder that whispered in my ear every single day, you're going to show the world how great you are. Because I spent, 15 years pursuing this dream, more like, 12 years pursuing that dream. And I had nothing to show for it, or what it felt like I had nothing to show for it. When all of my teammates had full ride scholarships and now they're in the MLS and playing for the Canadian national team. And I knew how hard I worked. So I felt like my motivation at the beginning was slightly inspired by this wanting to feel like I was enough, desiring to feel like I was enough. And then in a few years, it shifted from that to a genuine love for the craft and trying to become the best possible speaker I can be. But the origins are definitely the values my parents instilled in me growing up, and even my grandparents who came here to this country with nothing and worked really hard to provide a better future for their family.
Yeah.
I also reflect on when I feel greatest, and it's when I'm making progress. I've set goals and reached them and felt very empty on the other side of the outcomes I thought would change my life. And what I started to realize was it was never about that destination. It was about not even so much the journey, because sometimes the journey is the hardest part. It was the person that I was becoming along each journey. And so I think those thoughts combined with my parents and grandparents really pushed me to continue pursuing progress and greatness.
How was that moment though? Like when you had your knee go out, I think you said, like you had this destiny for over a decade of like, hey, I'm going to be a professional person, playing soccer or football and other people, say, and you had that moment where it's like the world crashed in an instant of your dream. How long was it before you picked yourself up with this new direction of speaking?
My email address was soccersam99@hotmail.com. It's like soccer and Sam were not separate. My identity was totally attached to the sport and my ability as an athlete. After I stopped playing soccer, it took me a good year and a half before I was entertaining a different pathway with my life. It took me 2 to 3 years before I felt confident in my self-esteem again. I was very fortunate, though, that I had a supportive family who recognized how much I was struggling and consistently encouraged me each day, and that I had a world issues teacher in my senior year of high school that saw it as an opportunity to help me realize how great I was outside of sports. Oftentimes, we attach our identity to our achievements and our accomplishments. It's easy to feel like we are those things because we've achieved great success in one specific area. But he helped me realize that the hard work I put into sport to build the character, the character of Sam Demma, and I would carry that character forward no matter what path I choose to pursue. And he taught this lesson about small, consistent actions making a really big difference. And that's what inspired the garbage cleanup initiative. He was always talking about serving others and trying to solve world issues. And I think if I didn't have that class and that teacher, I don't know where I'd be today. I don't know if I would have went down this pathway. So to answer your question, about a year and a half before I really started flirting with this new pathway, and a good few years before I rebuilt the confidence in myself.
So many times when people start a new venture, a business or a skill that they're developing, they first go on like, hey, what's going to make me more money? The fact that you started off with impact first is awesome. Like the fact that you're like, how can I help people? And then you practice that with no monetary, outlet at first with school, doing your 3-minute pitch. And then it developed more and more into an opportunity where you're like, hey, I like the speaking thing. Like, where was that from? Is that an upbringing thing? Was that it from that history teacher, or is that just something that you've known because God's wired you that way? Like, why start impact first?
I think a part of it is I was so confused about the pathway of my life. I was open to any possibilities.
Mm,
And I would say yes to almost anything at that point in my life because it would keep me out of my house, which in turn would keep me out of my head,
mm,
which was just thinking about the reality of my crushed dreams. And when you go from 4 hours a day of sports to an open calendar, you want to get out and do things again. You don't want to be stuck at home. And so every opportunity I had to make a difference or get involved was an automatic yes. I also believe that the values my parents instilled in me definitely play a role in that, though I don't want to make myself feel like some, hero or saint. I think we all want to also make a living as well as make a difference. But I was young at that point. I wasn't thinking about my career. I was very confused. I just felt good after I got off the stage. And when observing the people that were sitting in the crowd, it looked like they felt good too.
yeah.
I thought if they're winning and I feel great, it seems like a win-win. Why don't we try and do more of this? And then I didn't get really curious about it until that principal did, tell me you should consider this. And I went home and I searched youth speaker on Google and I called everybody I could find, asked them all these questions. Still have those 7 handmade pages of notes. Still know a lot of those people today. And that started the journey.
Mm.
But it definitely was my teacher, my experiences, and my family that instilled those values in me to just serve others.
More often than not, there's things in life that are empty, right? Like the driving force of like just financial, freedom. But
Yeah,
then you get financial freedom, and then you're like, what's next? Right? I think that
yeah.
what you've hit on is something that's so important that everybody needs to have is like, if I can help more people in the way that you feel on stage, the way that you get off stage, the way you have conversations with people and you're seeing the impact you're making, there's something about it from that transfer of energy that you're helping people that fills you up, that gives you more of a sense of purpose and significance than other areas of life where, if I'm just trying to make money and it's shallow relationships. And so I love that. I love that part. When you fell onto speaking, like you could have done all sorts of different career things. You could have been a career counselor. You could have been, a teacher yourself. You could have been, going into like coaching soccer. Like there's so many different ways of like things. What made you most decide, hey, I want to do speaking and I want to like call everybody and learn how to do this? Why shift into that than any of the other things that you were interested or possibilities to make an impact that way?
When I think about my time as an athlete, I remember being the kid on the team that would yell at my teammates when they cut corners during fitness
Mm,
training. The way we do one thing is the way we do everything, guys. Please don't cut the corners. We do it in practice. It's going to affect us in the games. And my teammates would kind of chuckle and laugh and, yeah, okay, Sam, we get it. We get it. But I took great pride in helping other people make better decisions, whether it was as an athlete or as a human being. I was once walking out of a restaurant and a buddy of mine decided he was going to take one of the mugs that was on the table. And we get out the restaurant. I'm like, hey, buddy, we don't do that. Like, we don't steal. Please go put the mug back. Even though he was a few years older than me and I really looked up to him. And so I've always found great pride in helping other people just make better decisions in their
mm,
lives. And I felt like speaking to mass amounts of people gave me the greatest opportunity to do that.
yeah.
I'm also a half Italian, half Greek. When I get into a story, I can be very animated with my hands and passionate. I've had many people after presentations tell me that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing on this earth, and messages like that keep me going down this pathway. I also think it was the first thing I stumbled into. Maybe if I stumbled into the teaching pathway first, I would have, more closely considered that. But at this point, I honestly believe I'm using my God-given gifts and talents, and I just want to use them as much as I possibly can. And there are hard moments, there are difficult moments. The first year of this journey, I called probably over 1,000 schools. 970 of them told me, no, you're not good enough. You're not old enough. You don't have the credibility. You haven't finished university yet. You're the same age as our senior class. Why are we going to hire you to come talk about life? So there's been a fair share of challenges, but I have persisted because I believed I could make a serious contribution. And I believe having a strong reason why you're doing the work, or a belief that you're supposed to be doing it, will drive you through the most difficult times.
Yeah, man, that's good. So many times, I want to get your take on this. Now that you're coaching people on how to speak, so many people, the number one fear they have is public speaking. And it's I think of it as it's a skill to be made, right, and it's a fear to get over, because the greater impact that many people want in their life is on the other side of helping more people. And if you can do it one to many, even better, right, than one on one, right? What's causing the fear, and then how do you cope or train people to help them really get past that and move forward with speaking and sharing that message without the issues?
Anytime you do something that's unfamiliar, where other people are watching you do it, you're going to feel a similar anxiety in some capacity. I think back to when I took penalty shots as a soccer player, and it's the final game. It's a tournament where you miss the shot, you lose. The whole stands are staring at you. And in our head, we make this decision that we're in danger. We're in danger. And our heart starts racing, our skin gets itchy and hot. We start to sweat in our palms, sometimes even your arms, your head. And I remember those feelings very similar to when I stood on stage for the first time. But the more I spoke, the more those feelings, those nerves, those moments of fear dissipated. I think it's the same for any experience where it's the first time we're doing it and there's people observing us or watching.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not alone if you have those feelings when it comes to speaking. What's helped me the most is reminding myself that it's not actually about me, it's about the audience. And every time I make it about me, I feel really nervous. Every time I make it about the audience, I'm just here to serve and support and spread a message that's going to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And shifting it from me to them typically helps calm me down. I still get nervous today. I have a speech in March. It's for 5,000 people in California. I am sure that when I stand on the stage, I am going to get nervous. It's going to naturally happen because I care about the result. But I'll know in the back of my head that I practiced the material dozens upon dozens of times, and that I'm here to serve and it's not about me, and that'll push me through.
Let me ask you this, because the way I've designed this podcast is for entrepreneurs and business owners to listen to this while they're, walking the dog at the gym, riding their car, doing the dishes or whatever. So they're priming their brain and their mind with good information. And why is it important for someone that's not only online to share their content and grow an audience, but also to speak? Like, talk about the professional open doors that's helped you with, as also like just giving you financial freedom in the amount of money you made from it, the opportunities you're given. Why should someone even start it?
I think if someone has a story they think could help people, you're being selfish by not choosing to share it or getting over your fear to stand up and tell
Mm.
it. I've been impacted by so many people, and almost always it's because they chose to say something to me through their verbal words. And the reality is, if you're a business person, you likely got into business to solve a problem, maybe because you had that same problem at some point in your past. And telling that story would give so many people hope. So I think from a purely impact standpoint, it's to serve and make a difference. And it's being selfish by choosing not
Mm.
to. But there are so many benefits to a speaking career. If you like traveling, I've been to almost every single province in Canada, been to multiple states in the US, been across Kenya and Africa, going to Australia soon. People are paying me to come there and share those stories that'll give people hope. and they're covering the travel. It's just like a beautiful way to also see the world outside of the impact. The financial side of speaking in the corporate and association space is very lucrative. There are speakers who make between 20 and 70,000 a speech. My heart is in education, where the fees don't reach those ranges, but it's the work I love doing, and I'll likely do it for the rest of my life because it's never been for me solely about money. And I believe that when you are doing the work you're meant to be doing and you feel like you're making a difference, the money is just a byproduct of value. And the more value you provide, the more money shows up. And it's the reason we've been able to build one of the biggest education-based speaking businesses. This year we'll likely hit close to $1 million in revenue. And we've only been doing the work for 6 years. So there is financial opportunity if you choose to speak and overcome that fear. It's also a great way to acquire new leads. Think about your speaking as someone paying you to market your services to your ideal clients. There are conferences with your ideal clients sitting in chairs. And if you have some lovely stories you can share that could help them, someone will pay you to go market in front of your top prospects. So there's a big opportunity if you're willing to overcome that fear.
How can someone get into that? They're like, okay, you've convinced me. I got to go do and speak. How do I start? Where do people even think about it? Do it like, what do? Do they need to write a book? Do they need to copy? What's the next steps? What are some things that people need to do to start doing that?
Well, the product is the speech. So the most important thing would be to craft a keynote that's awesome.
Okay.
Now, how do you craft a keynote that's awesome? You can't actually earn the keynote by writing it down. You earn it by delivering it. Because every time you do it, you're going to see how the audience reacts and you're going to change how you deliver it. And it'll get to a point where you've done it so many times that you stand up to do it. And before you open your mouth, you can tell somebody, at this moment, they're going to laugh. At this moment, they're going to cry. At this moment, they're going to stand up and clap. And at this moment, they're going to run up to the stage and, ask to take a question. And so I believe, yes, the first step is writing it, but then it's about reps. So I would recommend people start by going online and searching how to write a keynote speech and find all the books you could possibly find on it. Find some videos, go consume the content. It's all out there. It's free. Start writing your first version of a keynote speech. And then find a place where you can practice. And for me, I joined a Toastmasters club, which is a public speaking group that met once a week. And I would do a 5-minute speech every week for 2.5 years. That's where I sharpened the saw. That's where I tested all my material. I didn't follow the Toastmasters curriculum. I just practiced my own content that I wanted to share on stage and found that to be incredibly helpful. There was an audience of 10 to 12 people every single week who would give me live feedback. And then once I got to a point where I felt I had put in the reps, then I started consistent outreach. That's really the next step of the engine, is you got to let people know who you are and what you're doing and how you could serve and support their events. And if you already have the credibility, that step becomes a lot easier. If you've built a big business or you're already solving massive problems, that part won't be a challenge. And then it's about sales, marketing, and putting systems in place. A lot of the people that join our program, they actually already have a speech, or they kind of know what they want to share. They just struggle with the marketing side, the sales, and the back end systems in the business. And that's where our program, I believe, helps the most. We alternate in one of those 4 categories every single week with a training session. And if anyone actually wants a copy of a sales video of us selling a $7,500 keynote or our sales script, you can DM me the word START on Instagram and we'll share those materials with you.
That's great. Thank you, Sam, for offering that. What are the challenges that people have when they start doing it? Like with marketing and with sales, why do people struggle with that? Especially people that are in business, they probably know how to do some of that. Why do they struggle with it with their speaking gigs?
Yeah. The reason someone hires an event planner is slightly different from the reason someone buys your product, or whatever your business solves. So the first thing I think people need to understand is that not only are you brought in to solve a problem, to stand on stage and share an inspirational message, but the person who's purchasing you as the keynote speaker wants to increase or improve their own reputation within their social circle. And so when you think about it from that perspective, there's actually a reputational risk if it goes bad. Um, and keeping that in mind is really important, because you're not only selling the fact that you can deliver an incredible message, but you should also be selling the fact that because you chose to bring me in, your friends are going to come up to you and say, "Wow, this guy was amazing. Where'd you find him?" Um, and everyone really wants that. Everyone wants to be recognized for making good decisions, especially from their superiors. I think that people often go wrong in um, trying outreach for 4 days, not selling a speech and deciding it's just not working for them. It took me 3 months of consistent outreach to book my first talk. Now we book multiple every single week, but we're in year 6. You have to be willing to plant seeds for 6 to 12 months without booking your initial, first paid speech before the ball gets rolling. Another big mistake people make is they don't capture enough video. They book some awesome speeches and then they ask their friends to film it on their iPhone. Big waste of an opportunity. Your speaking reel is arguably one of the most important marketing materials that you have as a speaker. Think about it this way. If you're getting married, would you hire a wedding videographer that has no portfolio videos on their website of other weddings they've shot?
No.
Why would someone hire a speaker who doesn't have a video of them standing on stage delivering impactful messages to an audience? They wouldn't. Now, the catch-22 is that you have to book a talk to get that footage, which is why your first 5 to 10 paid speeches are going to be the most challenging, which is why 99% of people don't persist in this industry, because they try for a couple of weeks and then decide it's not for them and give up. But if you pass those first 5 to 10 bookings and then you do build the systems for sales and marketing and the performance, it becomes a beautiful, beautiful career.
How much of that can be automated or build a team around helping you with that sales and marketing?
Yeah, the outreach process definitely can be outsourced. The marketing can be outsourced. I believe that, my business philosophy is sometimes doing the unscalable tasks separates you from, mass amounts of people. When someone gets a personalized video email from Sam telling them, how excited I am about working with their school, or, doing 20 outreach videos a day, the chances of me booking engagements goes through the roof. But this is because this is my full-time business and I absolutely love it. If someone was an operator in a pre-existing business and just wanted to do more speaking, you could align with speaking agencies that'll go out there and pitch on your behalf. You can do email campaigns, email outreach campaigns. Those are a little less, personalized, may not have the same impact. But there are parts that you could definitely delegate and automate. We use a CRM that allows us to automate almost every single step in the customer journey. So it depends how involved you'd like to be. But I do believe at the start, being more involved usually leads to a little bit more success.
So you would suggest doing like a Loom intro video or something to get those leads and connections to people that are unscalable, but it's going to be consistent outreach that's going to help you get more people to
Yeah, I'll give you here. I will do a live one for you on this
Sure.
podcast. I just filmed this before we started. So it went something like this. Hey Tim, please allow me to share where I got your contact information. My name is Sam Demma, and for over half a decade, I've delivered close to 700 keynote performances across the United States, Canada, and Kenya, primarily speaking about leadership, mental health, and empathy. I got your contact information from a principal in the Franklin Bow School District. We've been brought in 2 years in a row now to deliver close to 10 performances each year to all the Title I schools in the district. It's having a significant impact on students and faculty, which is why they bring us back. Lori, one of the principals, shared your contact information as somebody who might help us expand that reach to more students and schools throughout the state. I would love to have a conversation with you to see how we can reach more people across New Jersey. Please let me know when it would make sense for you to connect, and we'll send over a Zoom call at your convenience. I'll talk to you soon, and have a great week.
See, that's great. Yeah, those intros are the best. People click on it because it's a video, and then they watch it
And it's
as a call
like,
to action.
if they have 50 people reaching out to them to book them to speak, and they're all written, mass emails where it's just changing the first name, and then this guy Sam sends you a 50-second video clip in his office with a nice microphone and it's very personalized, who do you think is going to get the response?
Yeah.
But it's not scalable. It's definitely not scalable. Sometimes I take 2 hours each day filming videos like that. but it makes all the difference.
Yeah. What about volume? Like, talk about like the difference at the very beginning when you were just sending out a few. Yeah, when I was hiring, I was a recruiter and I would hire also just like for salespeople too. And it was like people were like they go apply for one job and then they hope and pray, right?
Yeah.
So talk to us about like the volume of like because you have bookings like so much when you're reaching out to people. You had gave some numbers before, but it's like the volume matters when it comes to this stuff. It seems like how do you go about researching, finding that, and then being able to do all these videos and reach outs?
Yeah, it does. I think having an outreach list is really important. If you go on Fiverr, you can hire a data miner and have that person put you together a spreadsheet, first name, last name, organization, title, position, phone number, email address. And you don't have to spend too much on that. It could be like $50 a week and they'll pull you, 200 rows of people in whatever industry you're targeting, or whatever type of conferences you're targeting. And then it's just about having a daily rhythm, a daily discipline, being a high performer, doing it whether you feel like it or not. And for me at the start, that was 20 video emails a day. Usually those 20 video emails took about 2 hours. I would spend the rest of my day practicing my performances, answering emails, hopping on Zoom calls, talking to my coach. His name was Chris at the time. For 3 years, he was my speaking coach. Building my website because I did that stuff by myself as well on WordPress. But I would recommend at least 20 high quality videos a day if you're super serious about just growing a speaking career. If you don't have that sort of time, maybe 10, start with 10. Um, but yeah, I saw massive results. I did like 20 a day for a full school year and ended up booking 30 talks. So I don't know what the math is on that for the full school year, but thousands of videos for 30 bookings is a lot. It's a lot of
What's the
outreach.
opportunity here? Because there's a lot of people that need your story, your expertise. They just don't know about you. They don't know about people, right? How do you go about seeing the opportunity? You go to these speaking engagements and they're hoping to probably book something, or the opportunity is galore with events and places that need people. Like, talk to us a little bit about what you've noticed in this industry of like people need more speakers. Like, tell us the need and opportunity there.
Yeah, you know what? There's a lot of speakers already. Like, I'll be
Okay.
completely transparent. There's thousands of speakers. I think there are very few speakers that care about the work enough to arrange 3 research conversations with people in the company to get a better understanding of their challenges so they can tailor their material to the event. I think there are very few speakers who will arrive the day before so they can stay the entire conference and meet the humans that are going to listen to their speech and customize the material, and stay afterwards so they can answer questions and give people hugs while they cry and share their personal
Mm.
stories. I think the industry needs more people who see the opportunity not from a revenue standpoint and just that they're going to fill a need to be booked to speak, but from an impact standpoint that they can make a significant contribution, fill their heart with fulfillment, and also make a good living doing it. I think there are less people like that. And so if you're willing to do this for the right reason, it's a beautiful industry and there's always space. If you're just looking to add another, line to your business, do something else. There's way more ways to make lots of money than to stand on stage. And I'm a speaker, and I'll just say it as it is. Like, that's just the truth and how I feel about the industry. Um, but if you are wanting to do it for the right reasons, like, I can't give you enough stories of moments that just give me goosebumps of kids sharing things with me and parents sharing things with me that just make me feel like I'm significantly making a contribution to people's lives. And I think that's the greatest opportunity.
Mm.
Not to mention, the meeting industry is massive. In case someone's thinking about it from a financial perspective, there are thousands of companies that host AGMs every single year. There are thousands of conferences. I believe as the world becomes more technological, we need more human connection. And these experiences, in my perspective and opinion, are going to be valued even more.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not an industry that's going to disappear over time. Um, and
Yeah.
yeah, I love it. So I'm biased. I could talk about how great it is all day.
Your obsessiveness around speaking is awesome. I think we need more people with that. How's the learning process? Like, you're an obsessive guy. Like, you're always crafting, you're always learning. Talk to us about like your cadence of learning. Are you reading books? Are you getting your own coaching? Do you study this? Do you change? Like, tell us your learning process with growing yourself.
Yeah, I asked myself who I could surround myself with that would improve my ability as a speaker and knowledge on the industry, improve my business skills. And I mean, the first thing I did was call everybody I could find on Google, and I asked them, what courses should I buy? What books should I read? What conferences should I attend? What people should I meet?
Hmm.
And that started the journey. I read a bunch of books by a lady named Jane Atkinson. She has an awesome book called The Epic Keynote, which is a great resource for writing your speech. She has another couple books called The Wealthy Speaker, The Wealthy Speaker 2.0. The Speaker Lab has a lovely book. The Referable Speaker, Michael Port, Andrew Davis. Then I joined the Professional Association for Speakers in Canada called CAPS, the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers. They have monthly events where somebody comes in, delivers an informational session. I attended all those for 2 years. I joined Toastmasters to practice my material for 2 years. I then hired my own coach. His name was Chris. And every Tuesday for 3 years, we had a 2-hour phone call where I'd ask him questions about the performance, the sales, the marketing, the systems. And then I would just bring him challenges I was facing in my business. And he would just pour life because he had been doing the work for 25 years. He just had so much information to share. So I think it was a real big combination of the courses, the books, the associations I joined, the conferences I attended. And even now, I still have a coach. I've a coach, a therapist, a fitness coach. I really believe that all those things are incredibly valuable. And the more we can take care of ourselves, the more we'll be ourselves on stage and make an authentic connection with the crowd. So taking care of your mental and physical well-being is half the battle as a performer or a speaker.
I love that, man. Well, I appreciate you guys reaching out and giving some insights with the stuff that you give for the audience here. Where can people find you and connect with you further, though?
Sam Demma on any platform. Instagram is my preferred spot. You can find our website, samdemma.com, online as well. Send me a message. We'd love to connect.
Perfect. I'll put that link down below. Everybody, thank you for listening. Don't forget to get that training down below, and we will connect. Go follow Sam some more, connect further, and we will see you on the next episode.